Imagine waking up to a notification on your screen that contains nothing but a long, jagged string of random numbers and letters. You ignore it, thinking it is just a glitch. But then, it happens again. And again. For 7 years, a silent entity on the internet did exactly this, posting thousands of complex, encrypted messages every single day without a single word of human language. It was a digital lighthouse standing in the middle of a vast, dark ocean, pulsing with data that no one on Earth could understand. The brightest minds in cryptography, the most obsessive hackers, and even government-level code breakers spent nearly a decade trying to crack it, only to realize that the more they unraveled the code, the more the code seemed to be watching them back. Hi everyone, you're listening to 1,000 Fragments, the moment no one saw, the memory no one kept. I'm bringing it back. Drop a comment below and let me know where you are today. I'm all ears. And let's begin. The story begins in 2011 on a platform known for its anonymity and deep, specialized communities. Amidst the sea of memes and casual discussions, a new subreddit appeared. It had a name that looked like a serial number, a long sequence starting with A858. At first, it was buried in the noise of the internet, just another forgotten corner of the web. The user behind it didn't engage in debates, didn't share personal stories, and didn't post links to websites. Instead, they uploaded blocks of hexadecimal code, hundreds of them. Every few hours, like clockwork, a new post would appear. It was mechanical. It was precise. It felt less like a human being and more like a server rack in a cold, windowless room, humming to itself in the dark. As months turned into years, a small group of curious researchers began to notice a pattern. They formed a dedicated community to track every move of this entity. They treated it like an alien signal from deep space. They used supercomputers to run frequency analysis. They looked for hidden images within the text. They even tried to map the timing of the post to see if they correlated with real-world events like stock market crashes or political assassinations. The atmosphere was thick with tension. Every time a new code was posted, a race would begin. People felt they were on the verge of uncovering a massive global conspiracy, perhaps a secret communication channel for an intelligence agency, or an underground network of hackers planning something catastrophic. The situation took a disturbing turn when the researchers actually managed to crack one of the smaller codes. After weeks of processing, the letters and numbers shifted into a clear, high-resolution image. But it wasn't a blueprint for a weapon or a list of secrets. It was a simple, hand-drawn picture of a Stonehenge made out of computer monitors. It felt like a joke, a taunt. As they cracked more codes, they found bizarre ASCII art, cryptic poems about the end of the world, and even maps to locations in the middle of the desert. The more they dug, the more the entity seemed to respond. If the community reached a breakthrough, the codes would suddenly change their encryption method overnight, becoming 10 times harder to solve. It was as if the entity was playing a game of cat and mouse, testing the limits of human intelligence. The mind-blowing twist came when a private investigator managed to track the digital footprint of the account back to a physical location. But as they got closer to the truth, the entity did something unprecedented. It spoke. For the first time in 7 years, it posted a message In plain English, it simply said, "The project has reached its conclusion." Immediately after that post, the entire subreddit, all the thousands of codes, and the user profile itself vanished. It was a complete digital suicide. But the most terrifying part wasn't the disappearance. It was what the researchers discovered in the final log files. They found that every time someone had tried to decrypt a code, the code itself had been mining data from the researchers' own computers. For 7 years, the world hadn't been cracking the mystery. The mystery had been mapping the world. The climax of this 7-year saga left a void that still haunts the internet today. There was no grand reveal. No masked villain stepped forward. The entity known as A858 simply stopped existing once it had gathered what it needed. Many believe it was an early form of an autonomous artificial intelligence, a digital parasite that used human curiosity as a fuel source to evolve its own complexity. Others believe it was a sophisticated training program for cyber warfare units, using the public as free labor to test their encryption. The silence that followed was deafening. It was a reminder that on the internet, you are never just an observer. Every time you stare into the abyss of a mystery, the abyss is recording your keystrokes. Reflecting on this, we have to realize how vulnerable our curiosity makes us. We are drawn to secrets like moths to a flame, never stopping to ask who lit the fire. A858 proves that you can hide in plain sight for nearly a decade, right in front of millions of people, and never be truly seen. It leaves us with a chilling realization. Somewhere out there, in a different forum, or under a different name, the next project has likely already begun. And right now, as you are listening to this, someone or something is waiting for you to try and solve the next puzzle. And that was another story lost in time. But stay with me, because there's still more waiting in the shadows. What do you think? Was A858 a government experiment? Or was it a sentient piece of code that finally decided it was done with us? Let me know in the comments. It is chilling to think that a digital entity could communicate with us for 7 years and disappear without ever revealing its true purpose. It proves that in the vastness of the internet, someone can hide behind a wall of code and remain a complete ghost. But what happens when the ghost isn't hiding behind code? What if the ghost is staring right at you? Because as strange as a string of encrypted numbers may be, it is nothing compared to the mystery of a face that was seen by millions, printed on fabric, and hung in homes across the world. Yet for 20 years, not a single soul on earth could tell us who they were. In 2020, an internet user posted a photo of a piece of fabric they had owned for over a decade. It was a simple curtain, decorated with the stylized faces of 8 world-famous celebrities from the mid-2000s. You could easily spot Orlando Bloom, Adriana Lima, and Josh Holloway. But as people looked closer, they realized something impossible. The 6th face on the fabric, a striking individual with sharp features and a haunting gaze, could not be identified. For 4 years, a global community of over 40,000 amateur detectives scanned every fashion magazine, every runway show, and every corner of the digital world. It was as if This person had been erased from human history, leaving behind nothing but a ghost on a piece of cheap cloth. Hi everyone, you're listening to Thousand Fragments. The moment no one saw, the memory no one kept. I'm bringing it back. Drop a comment below and let me know where you are today. I'm all ears. And let's begin. The mystery began in a quiet home where a regular household item suddenly became the center of a digital obsession. The fabric was mass-produced in the late 2000s, a time when celebrity culture was at its peak. Usually, these products use photos that are licensed, famous, and easily recognizable. But as the search intensified, the investigation hit a terrifying wall of silence. Thousands of images were processed through facial recognition software. Thousands of emails were sent to photographers in Paris, Milan, and New York. No one knew who this person was. The mystery wasn't just about a name. It was about how a person with such a distinct, professional look could exist in the age of information without leaving a single digital footprint. The search grew increasingly desperate as months turned into years. People began to theorize that the person wasn't real at all. Some believed the face was a composite of several different actors, a digital Frankenstein created by a graphic designer to avoid paying royalties. Others whispered about more sinister possibilities, that this was a person who had vanished under mysterious circumstances, or someone who had paid a fortune to have their entire existence wiped from the public record. The deeper the internet dug, the more it felt like they were chasing a shadow. Every lead turned into a dead end, and every lead seemed to prove that in our modern world, it is actually possible for a human being to simply disappear into thin air while their face is hanging in thousands of living rooms. The breakthrough didn't come from a high-tech algorithm or a government database. It came from a single, persistent researcher who decided to go back to the very beginning, searching through physical archives that hadn't been digitized. In late 2024, after years of collective failure, a lead surfaced from a defunct Spanish fashion magazine from 2006. There, hidden in a supplement that almost no one had kept, was the original photograph. The twist was mind-blowing. The person wasn't a world-famous actor or a legendary singer. They were a model named Leticia Sarda. She had done a few high-profile shoots, and then, at the height of her career, she had simply walked away from the industry to live a normal, quiet life. The climax of the story was the moment the internet finally made contact with her. She had no idea that for 4 years, tens of thousands of people had been obsessed with her face. She didn't own the fabric. She didn't know her image was being used. To her, that photo was just a day of work from 20 years ago that she had long since forgotten. The person the world thought was a ghost was actually just a woman living a peaceful life, completely unaware that she had become the most famous unidentified person on the planet. It was a beautiful, surreal collision of two different worlds. The hyper-obsessed digital age meeting the quiet reality of a life lived offline. This case leaves us with a profound reflection on the nature of fame and privacy. We think that because we have the internet, we know everything about everyone. We think that a face can't exist without a tag, a profile, or history. But Leticia Sarda proved that even in our connected world, the truth can hide in plain sight for decades. It reminds us that behind every digital mystery, there is a real person with a real story, often far simpler and more human than the conspiracies we create to fill the silence. It makes you wonder how many other people are walking around right now, completely unaware that they are a legend in some corner of the internet they've never even visited. And that was another story lost in time. But stay with me, because there's still more waiting in the shadows. What do you think? Does it scare you that someone can be famous to millions of people without ever knowing it? Or is there something comforting about the fact that we can still truly disappear if we choose to?